in your early 30s, you're kind of taught just find the one, just find the one, just find the one and have a baby and have a family. And the reality is,
Also, wait, caveat, find the one and then your life will change or your life will get better. Like,
and then it's gonna change. It's like a
Right.
whole new era and you've done it.
mm,
And it's happily ever after.
right. And it's
And what
rarely that.
and it's rarely that.
Yeah.
But why do we keep shoveling that concept, even though we have data and proof that it's rarely that from all around, historically, everything? So I'm really interested in this idea of managing to do all the things that I have still not done, right? Find the person, have the baby, have the house, have the dog, you know, and then realize maybe this isn't me, or this isn't what I wanted, or this isn't all it's cracked up to be. And then having to choose, and I don't know your story, Rachel, exactly, but having to choose something that affirms you and feels in alignment with you, and giving up all of that, right? And that's that next level after finding, Scrambled is all about, I didn't find any of the things I was supposed to find. I haven't found anything. What do I do? What do I do? The panic. But when you do that next level, what next? What next? And I want to really delve into that. So I'm developing a TV show. It's called The Panic Years. That's what we're calling it right now. And just about that next level, marriage, divorce, life after divorce, being a single mom, like all of the realities of womanhood beyond just finding the man.
Yeah. I mean, listen, it's so true. I think it's very relatable that, I remember in my 20s, I worked at Bloomberg News and I would tell the girls and the guys in our cubicles all about our dates because we were like, is he the one? And then you're going to get whisked off. And we see these, fairy tales when we're younger, and our kids, my daughter still sees this and loves Frozen and loves, all these things. But she's grown up in a single parent household. So I think she also knows that I'm the strong one. I'm not necessarily the mom feminine with no job cooking. It's like, I'm the hustler, like telling her what to do, teaching her things, also praising her, being tough, and she gets to see it. And I love that. But I do think what you're saying is so interesting because I think it's like a stigma that it's like, well, your marriage didn't work and it's about second chances. And it is about second chances, figuring it out later. But what if we did it backwards so it doesn't seem wrong? Like kind of like what you're doing when you decide whether or not your boyfriend and you decide to get married or have the dog or the house or the kid together. What if you say, I'm feeling right now like it's time, like I want a kid so bad, I'm going to do it. And then if he chooses to join you on that process and say, wait, I want to be a part of it, don't do it without me, that's so much more empowering. Because the way it happened to me is I was recruited to be on The Amazing Race, and they gave me all the shots for our trip, 9 shots and a pregnancy test. And they were like, good news and bad news. Bad news is you can't do the show. Good news, I think, is that you're pregnant. And I was like,
whoa,
what? And he was 10 years younger than me. And I just remember thinking, how am I going to tell this young kid that he's having a baby? And I'll be honest with you, I had 2 dogs that I loved, and I didn't really know that I wanted kids. I didn't like other people's kids. They screamed, they threw up everywhere, they were annoying. And so that was not like on my bucket list, but I chose to have the baby. And I thought, I'll tell you really quickly that it was interesting because the day I found out was September 11th, and my fiance had been killed on September 11th, 10 years before. And so I called my best friend, Alison, and I said, I've taken 10 pregnancy tests and they're all positive and I don't know what to do. And I was crying, like I was upset. And she was like, Rachel, it's September 11th. It's a sign. You have to have this child, because no longer can you think of this as like a terrible day. This is the day you're always going to remember. You have to have the baby. So to me, that's why I chose to have her, because I don't know what I would have chosen if I hadn't had that guidance.
Yeah.
And sometimes things happen, as you probably know, where it's just an accident, and whatever the situation is, you have to go with it, and your life veers because of it. And having a child was the best thing that ever happened to me, but made my life go down a totally different path. So it's like sliding doors. in your case, you can decide. And I think that's very empowering that you make the decisions and then people can go along, because I also thought I will never want to do this on my own. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll do it because he's now with me, and we went and got married, but that didn't work. It just wasn't right. And I've been asked before later, like, would you have another kid? I would only have a child, not because I want a child again necessarily, but because I'm so in love with that man that I'm like, I want a piece of that. And that would be like my second chance at doing it with someone and seeing how that's different than raising a child on your own, and always being kept up a little bit later at night worrying like, can I pay for all this? Can I do all this? Am I making the right decisions? And so anyways, I think what you did is so empowering and enlightening. And a show like what you're talking about seems very interesting, because I think it'll cover all those options.
I mean, I'm like, my mind is blown about all of this. The Amazing Race, like, talk about sliding doors. Like, what could have, I mean, that is epic. And your suggestion about, like, if you decide that you want a kid or you become pregnant and you're like, do I want to have this kid? I'm going to do this. This is the route I'm choosing. And you are welcome to join me.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to go at it solo. Is a really radical, progressive suggestion, and yet also the most basic, obvious one, because we carry the children. So it is our choice, right? What we want to do. And as we know, even if they marry you and even if you decide to be together forever, that's not necessarily how it always goes, or how it should go. You know, nobody should feel forced. My parents are still together after, gosh, I think 40 something years, but they had a very, very difficult marriage. Very, very hard, very tough to witness, a lot of chaos in the household, a lot of tension. And I'm proud of them. They're both good people. They did their best. They, you know, they have 3 grown kids. And so now we're all doing our thing, and they have chilled out, and they are like, my mom spends half the year in her country in Nicaragua, and she's got her own farm and chickens, and they have figured it out.
Right.
But they're very honest, my mom specifically, that like, she wouldn't have done it over that way. You know, she didn't want us to have to see that. I don't want my children to have to go through, a life where they're always walking on eggshells, because who knows how our parents are getting along today? Who knows, are our parents in love today, or do they hate each other today? You know, there was always that. And so I think for me, there's a lot of fear of marrying the wrong person, or forcing myself to spend life with somebody and creating a really volatile environment for my child.
Right. Right. Well, it's such a lesson, and just take life into your own hands. Thank you so much for listening to Misunderstood. I'm your host, Rachel Yucatel. Please be sure to subscribe to the show and give us a 5-star rating and review. You can support the show by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/misunderstood with Rachel Yucatel. Do you have ideas for the show or want to reach out? Email us at info misunderstoodpodcast@gmail.com. That's spelled MISS understood. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.